Hi, welcome to yet another beautiful episode on Spill It. And this episode is quite engaging. This episode is interesting as far as I'm concerned because my guest on this episode is someone I'm very familiar with, someone who we are both partners from an angle of leadership, right? And he's a very formidable comrade. Comradeship is not just entitled to one sector of life. We would have a strong discussion as it pertains you. And when I say you, I mean a young person. If you are a student, if you are an aspiring student, you need to pull a seat, call your friends, sit, and hear what the leader has to say. My name is ArinzeChukwu. When I come back from this short break, I'll get to allow you to meet my big guest. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. I have, like we used to call in our field, where we are coming from, a strong comrade, a senior comrade, would usually say one time this and this, one time this and that. And this time around, he's also a present this and that. All right, and I'm talking about Comrade I.C.C. I'm going to leave it at that. I.C.C. He will do justice to what I.C.C. actually stands out for him. He is presently the incumbent chairman of the Joint Campus Council of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Anambra State. We call NANS JCC. We've been in that wing before, and power is transient, right? Yes. Comrade, good to meet you, sir.
Yes, it's good to meet you too.
First, let me even thank you for coming here. As a matter of fact, I would tell them he had to drive off from, that's one thing with the struggle, from a police station where he went to bail one of our comrades. But every student is a comrade that was unjustly arrested. As the case was reported, he went there to fight his cause. And good thing he got the students released, and then he drove down to the studio to be with us on this program. Thank you for doing very well. I know, I would say this thing now. Okay, I contested against you one time, and we've always had this back and forth. And I'm going to say it on this discussion, not because I have issues with you, because I like you. But some factors that I know that is behind you are one of the persons or people we know troubling the union. Like, But good thing you're a very nice person, because some persons don't come for back and say, guy, I.C.C. is very good. Congratulations once again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Let's get to know what I.C.C. means actually.
I.C.C. is actually my name.
Okay.
The I stands for ArinzeChukwu. Then the first C is Chukwuemeka. Wow. Then the last C is Chukwuemeli. So it's ArinzeChukwu, Chukwuemeka, Chukwuemeli. That's the I.C.C.
That's entirely Igbo.
Yes.
You don't like English?
No, I do have an English name. My English name is Favor, but but because of I've actually started using I.C.C. politically, so it rhymes well for easy remembrance and the other thing.
Now we are discussing the issue of education, student leadership, the thrills and pains. First off, let me ask him, being a student leader, more like it's said in contemporary politics, as far as Anambra State Student Union is concerned, you are the number one student. Yes. What would you say about our education system? I will narrow it down straight to Anambra State, our education, our academic experience, the campuses. I know when we were in leadership, some of the things we fought. How is it now? What challenges? What do you think we've improved on?
When we were in school back in 2018, 2019, it was a little bit more severe in terms of what people faced. They had difficulties with receiving aid to assist students. Given the economy of the time, it is not something that is easier for parents, by the way. But at least there have been some sub-conventions from the governmental part to assist Nigerian students in some certain things, loan structure, and with regards to the NEL fund. And I think currently in Anambra State, as we speak, His Excellency Professor Charles Kwame made mention of actually helping out with a bursary fund to the Nigerian students in tertiary institutions to ease
When was this mentioned?
This was mentioned at the program we did during my predecessor's turn.
Okay.
At the International Convention Center, I.C.C.
I.C.C.
Where the
And that's almost like
yes, where the students actually they actually reaffirmed their support for his leadership. So in solidarity, he said he's going to actually assist the Nigerian students in Anambra State to ensure that the academic process is made easier financially. So to that end, we are still looking up to it, because when you come into office, you look at what has been given to you, then you have to start proceeding from what we have. So that's where we are at the moment.
Oh, that's quite impressive. One thing I'm likely going to also say now is the fact that under your leadership, I expect a whole lot, because I know you are one, should I say, academic activist, right? Yes, you are one person that I know that is very vocal. And I've not told you before. And coincidentally, I'm saying it on set, on air. I know you are one person that can do some of the things I want to do. The earlier fear I had was these factors I mentioned. All right. But now, that being said, before I delve deep, student struggle from yesteryears until now, what would you say about it? Student leadership, the challenges, the wins. I know one of our leaders actually wrote a book on student struggle, but experientially, what would you say about it?
Experientially, the student struggle has never been easy, even right from their own time. I would make respect to our leader, who actually wrote a book on the pains and pangs of the struggle. I'm speaking about Honorable Patrick Afubera. He actually narrowed down many stuff in the book. It's a good read for
He was a national president or senate?
Yes, of our association back then. The book is actually a good read for some people who would love to go through the struggle process. Back then, the struggle is, we call it struggle because first, we do not have a financial base to support activities. You do it, it's just like pure activism. You do it by your own self for the people. You understand? And given that we are young persons, we have many limitations. Access to finances, ease of office, access to personalities who would actually help in interventions at some certain cases. So given that whole structure which we've had, and even up to this moment, I wouldn't say that the student activism is easier at this moment, because now it's even more politically affiliated than before, because the secular politicians have now seen that they can actually push through the students more, and they are now interested in student activism. So in as much as it has its own advantages, because it gives support to the students, it creates access, but on the other part of it, there are some things. It cages the voice of the activism. There is no longer free flow. You can't speak the way you should.
So I like
speak. You can't speak the way you should speak. You have to look at some certain factors. Those who have actually engaged before or who have sponsored an activity or two, it makes you just to speak a little bit less than you should have spoken before. So the activism has never been easier, as it has never been easier as it was before. Even up to now, it's still difficult. That's it.
What role do you think? I'm going to shoot a little bit. Do you think, because maybe to just give a base. I had a chat with I won't be in details, with a senior personnel at Paul University. When we were in office, and he said, just like you mentioned now, that NANS used to be a strong force that both government and school administrators respect and fear. But now we've politicized it and watered down the glory of the struggle. Now, what do you think student leaders would do? Because as a matter of fact, this also affects, it's trickled down even to what I would call the local base, the SUGs and stuff. What do you think student leadership would do? I believe all of this student leadership thing affects even our academic experience. Let me not go with examples. What do you think student leaders should do so we can better effect changes for the student body?
When you mean better effect changes, to what base do you love to? Because there are many other
For instance, when you talk about, let's say, infrastructures,
Okay.
right? Let's talk about conducive learning environment.
Okay.
Let's talk about molestation of students.
Okay.
Let's talk about, should I say, unnecessary hike in fees and stuff without considering the plight of students and all of. One day I sang a song to somebody. I said, I understood better when I was in my 200 level. Where we sing, I will sing it in Igbo. Akwụkwọ na-asụ ụsọ. Ọ nara onye nwere nkasi obi, ọ ga-amụta akwụkwọ ma ọ bụrụ. That ma ọ bụrụ means if money dey, that's the only way you can. So how do we get to handle all of those?
Okay, let's first of all, to the audience listening, we have to make an understanding
Exactly.
of the structure.
Yeah.
National Association of Nigerian Students is just like a, I wouldn't call it a tripartite structure, but everything has their own structures. Like on the federal level, you have federal, you have state, you have the local government on the secular level. Then in NANS, we have the federal level, which is the NANS president. We have the zonal structure, which are the zonal coordinators. You have the state structure, which is I. Then we now have the grassroots structure, which are the SUGs. Now, when you actually ask for our role in some certain things, when you spoke about infrastructure, this is where we have to come into NANS majorly. What we actually have strongly than most people is a united voice. And
strong one at
yes,
that.
it's a very strong united voice. We speak the same language, we understand the same thing, each and every one of us. So when it comes to infrastructure, what we have to give is our voice.
Exactly.
Because if we don't lend our voice properly to the pains and the limitations within our educational system, especially in the tertiary institutions, through the proper channels and through the proper personnel, there won't be any change. Because they'll be like, oh, you guys are okay, you're receiving that fund, you're also receiving other funds from the school. Most people would be like, we are fine, this is how the system is, and we just have to pass through the system this way and just move our way. But leadership as it stands for today, especially this student activism, will I say most people move into it without one proper understanding of what they want actually. They just want to answer a leader, be a part of a process, but you don't understand what you're into and you don't actually ask about. We call it consultation. You don't actually consult properly before you push through. Okay, we have our areas of jurisdictions. We have what we call rights and privileges. Okay, it's our rights that we believe that education is a right. It's not a privilege. Everybody should be educated. Understand? Then in the tertiary institution, when we speak about infrastructures, it's also one of the things that would actually accommodate a healthy educational environment. So we have to voice out. Whenever it's student activism, we have to give our voice to that we need better play.
Before we were interrupted, you were talking about understanding process. That most times students just jump into student struggle without understanding
The process.
the consultation in NANS and all of that. So just elaborate on that.
Speaking down to that, even in businesses, before you proceed into a business venture, you must have to understand what you're going into. Okay, given that the educational system which we have now at the moment and the level of education which people actually have to pursue at the moment, people don't make inquiries about what they want to venture into. They just see the beauty of the entire thing. This guy is an SUG president, this guy is the access it gives to you and every other thing, and they just jump into the process. Then if by God's grace, because I believe God is he that makes a man a king, they get to the process and they actually face challenges. They don't know how to actually face those challenges, how to navigate about the challenges. So when you made mention about the rules we have to play towards the academic section, you spoke about the infrastructure, which I've detailed, that we have to give our voice to that. When you come to the school fees, increase of school fees, I believe no school increases their school fees without proper consultation with the SUG. Because SUG is
But we've seen it happen now.
yes, that's so part of the issues which we already corrected. Yes, the SUG is a very vital part
Exactly.
of every institution. Everything called tertiary institution are just made up of two people: the administrative body and the student structure.
Exactly.
So, and if the administrative body would love to take a decision that would affect the student structure, it is very wise to actually bring them along. And this is what we have to do.
Exactly.
This is why we want to do this. How do we get the interested students to come along? They have to sit at a table of concord and agree. But you know, some schools feel they can actually do it by their own selves. And at each time they do such things, we stand at the united voice. That's why I said that NANS has a very strong voice. We always disagree
To agree.
to agree. Yes. There's a protocol of engagement. You can't just increase school fees just like that. No, you don't do such. You consult. This is what we have to do. This is how it's going to benefit. These are the challenges. Why we are doing this. These are the challenges we are facing, and this is why the increase will come. This is what is going to ameliorate. So the student structure, especially NANS, is a strong one when it comes to dialoguing and intervening with school fees hike and what have you in the tertiary institutions. Then we now go to one of the common issues we have. I think you mentioned sex for grade or something.
Molestation.
And
it could be in financial extortion. It could be sex for grade.
There are many other things we see in the university, and that is where it comes to personal differences. In as much as in the struggle, as we call it, you fight for the rights of people. But when you're actually fighting for the right of somebody that doesn't actually know his or her right, it's just like fighting a lost battle.
Exactly.
Okay, because it's not putting yourself through into the situation, into the larger picture. You have to make sure the person is also standing with you. So when it comes to this process of sometimes it's sexual extortion or sex for grade or financial extortion, as the case may be, the person would have to actually be part of the process.
Correct.
They have to give their voice to part of the process, because sometimes when you venture into such things and the matter, it's a really sensitive situation and it gets really steamed up. The person gets to, live through and you find yourself standing and you don't have the person who has actually undergone such process. Some of them would love to better leave the situation as it is, and for them to just pass through the process and just leave the school than escalate the situation, get the right thing done. So it's a very sensitive matter, and we deal with it at best to the interest of first the person that has been actually molested or taken advantage of, and secondly for the interest of the general public. Because we can't encourage wrong. It is not so. You have to, at every cost and at every time you see something not going right within, especially the academic level, you have to intervene properly. Because any decision you make there would leave a lasting impression in their mind. And that is what we attempt to correct. So that's about the trade.
I.C.C, I'm going to state for a fact, I'm happy that you emerged.
Okay.
Yes, because over the years, this is not to hype you, right? But I've not met one I.C.C chairman, who is as detailed as you are, right? And I hope that having known you from afar, and also having had few testimonies about you, I expect for the best for the students, right? Now, I'm going to ask you this as we begin to journey towards wrapping up on this program.
Okay.
I've seen a number of issues that, while I was very young in comradeship, that seem to have been abated. But it came back, this issue of, as a word we use for it in NANS, fractions. And these fractions come as a result of selfish interest. Recently, we saw it in Anambra State too, NOAS.
Yes.
So how should this, because I believe that if the students, if we are unified, strongly unified, I mean, at all fronts, we can be able to actually fight certain battles that is of students' interest across all levels, both federal and state.
Yes.
So how do we get to, in your own preference, what would you suggest that should be done so we can have a unified front across all levels for the interest of the students?
That's really nice. First of all, politics is a game of interest.
Sure.
There is interest everywhere, even in the secular politics and what we have. What people actually call fractions, because we have to bring it out to give meaning to it. Fraction is a process where there is disagreement in the electoral process.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe one party believes that this process was not totally followed. The constitution was not obeyed, or it was actually in a way, not followed the way as they said they would do it, especially the CPC. So whenever they feel such way, they feel betrayed by the constitution or some set of people because of their own interest, they now have to go out, not outside NANS, but just draw out from those people and find one or two persons, create their own parallel government to counter the other government.
Exactly.
Okay, now it now becomes two houses in one house. That is what we call fractions. Understand? So we had such thing in make reference to National University students, and it was a very difficult matter.
Strong one.
It was a very difficult matter. In as much as it was difficult, it actually gave them the publicity needed, but the publicity was not on the good part of it. Because so that's by the way. So for us to make sure that there are no fractures, we have to first of all, during the CPC process, CPC, the Convention Planning Committees of every election we have in NANS, we actually have independent Convention Planning Committee. That's what we have now, I.C.C. That's the new thing from our president, Excellency Oladaja.
He added I to it.
Yes, independent, yes, convention, because fractions means they are not independent. There are some forces, external forces. So you have to add the independent. That the persons you are saying here are on their own. They are doing this thing according to the constitution. There is nobody actually influencing the decisions there. So it gives confidence to anybody that is contesting, aspiring for a position, that these persons have been scrutinized and found worthy to be on this list. Okay, so when we have such situations, what I believe should be done, because in NANS we have what they call the stakeholders. The stakeholders are people who have been in the system for a very long time, who have actually held one position or the other. They just serve as a stream of guidance to those coming in, because the time of office is transient, because give or take a year, 3 months maximum, you'll be out of office. And when you get there, there are a lot of things you don't know at the moment. So this set of stakeholders are the people, through adequate consultations, who would have seen the processes and the mistakes of past administrations, should be consulted before an ICPC list has been made. And they should be added as an advisory council, so that when the ICPC is actually trying to repeat history, they will now be there, be like, this is wrong.
Put a guide.
This is wrong. This is not how it's done. This is how it's done. This is what you're trying to do. So with that, and the depending on whether it's state structure, you meet JCC, whether it's on the zone, you meet the coordinator, because that's the person who is going to set up the list. Depending on the integrity, the political integrity of the person who is setting up the ICPC, that's what will actually take fractions out of NANS. Because where we meet fractions most times is on the national level. Because on the national level it
happens at the state level too.
Yes, it happens on the state level too. Because because why is that is now happening everywhere is because everything is now politicized. If you don't have a structure, you can't. It will be difficult. Because before, this awareness before is just a comrade something. I speak to you, you speak to me. And if our interests align, things will go. But now you have to entice people financially. to some certain extent, bring comfort to them and do the needful. Okay, so these some people actually have to seek for external help politically, and once they receive that help, they are already aligned to their own political theology and what have you, and that's the same thing that will start happening. So that's by the way. So if we can actually have a well-consulted stakeholdership given in as the advisory council, also holding to book the president or the Southern coordinator or the JCC chairman who is to actually construct that I.C.C list, that this is the process you must go by the constitution strictly.
Standing firm
on the constitution. I believe strongly. Nobody would feel that he was cheated, and there will be no fractions. It will be a very smooth journey.
That's quite an impressive one coming from the JCC chairman of Anambra, JCC chairman of Anambra State, Comrade I.C.C. Chukwu. I like the fact that you are even an Igbo advocate, I would put it, yes. But that being said, two questions as we wrap up. One is, what would be your advice to would-be leaders in the student struggle? And then finally, what should the students expect better from you as the JCC chairman of Anambra State?
Okay, first, my advice to would-be leaders is to find yourself. Many people just go into this, they just want to, everybody wants to be a leader at the moment.
Wants to be heard, seen.
The problem we have now is that everybody wants to be something. They think it's easy politically, because of the...
Something out of their strength.
Because of the political process we have now. Politics in our country is now a little bit more enticing than before. Most politicians are affluent. So they believe this is the right path to go. They've not found themselves. They've not actually asked, can I do this? Or do I just dabble into this because I want to do something? So my advice to young persons who want to be leaders, especially politically, is first of all to find themselves. Search within yourself. I don't know who said, but I would say he said, know thyself. You have to understand that this is what I want. This is what I can do. Can I stand out to speak for others when even I'm not speaking for myself? No, it's a difficult thing.
Of course, and when it's challenging.
Yes, can I give him my resources for things I wouldn't benefit directly from? Okay, I would make reference to my NYSC. That should be 2021. We had a situation at the camp where we were asked to, leave our hostel by past 11 to another hostel. It was really cold, and it got to a time I had to start speaking up for them. And when the camp commandant came, he said, "Who is your leader among you? Who will speak for you?" They pointed at me. And I said, "Oga, these are the appointed at me, so I have to level." And I said, "Okay, fine. Your voice has been heard. You guys can go back. If you guys prefer that pastor, so you can go back to that pastor." But if nobody spoke out for them, we would have been marginalized into leaving that place. So young leaders who are aspiring for this should understand that you have to be up and we're doing. That's number one. You have to know yourself. Secondly, then you also have to have some support system. If you do not have financial means, when I mean financial means, at least to attend the meetings, to pay courtesy visits. I don't think that's for you, because you have to
there's
the system,
implication
the system has changed. It's no longer where you just have to come around and you have to do the process. There's a process of engagement,
like they call it.
There's a process of engagement, and it is financially and it is taxing financially. So you have to follow through that, and that's it for the students. And also academically, you have to be sound.
Very important.
You don't bring in dummies into the structure.
Student leadership would actually give you some level of distractions if you are not sound.
If you're not academically sound, you can't do it, because there will be a lot of distraction.
Exactly.
Your GPA would mess up. It wouldn't be what it used to be if you were actually doing well. And so you have to be really sound and focused academically as well. You have to understand that student activism is not all there is. It's just part of the system.
Exactly.
The academics as a university student is why you came to school, to get a good grade and pass through the process. But once you're also passing through the process, student unionism is like this process passing through because you're not only certified, only education, you're certified both in character and in learning. So that's my advice to would-be leaders of our time. Then I'm getting to you said what I would do or what
the students should expect differently.
First of all, we've come. What the first thing I would want them to expect, which we've already started engaging, is the process of doing things. They see NANS as that NANS only has a nuisance value. Okay, they see NANS as would I say, youthful exuberance in young persons. So some might even give that lousy word, say that's a doubt. They just make noise. They have nuisance value. They are not properly sound and well educated, civilized persons. So I've come to change that narrative. That NANS is a structured organization with very intelligent persons who engage situations the right and the proper way to do it. We have what it takes educationally in terms of leaders. We have what it takes as well when it comes to that nuisance value. Although we have a lot of that. So I've come
both
to change,
ways.
yes, in any way. I've come to change that narrative, especially in our state, that NANS is people you can actually work with. Okay, NANS are strong people, and to that effect, we've actually started inter-school consultations and courtesy visits. As about 25th September, the day before yesterday, we paid a courtesy call to one for the School of Education, where we interacted with the school management. And when we reached there, we were warmly welcomed by the provost, who was Dr. Justina Yadiego. She explained the difficulties they have, the intervention which the governor of the state have actually given them. So when you engage thoroughly with the school, you know where you fall in your engagement with them. You understand your rights and your privileges. And when we go for such engagements, we take the ACG presidents, because sometimes they are not actually opportune to sit at a round table with the management to discuss vital things. So we bring them to book to that place. They understand what and the narrow path they have to take to make things right for their school. So to that end, the first thing I believe the Anambra State students and the Nigerian students in Anambra State should expect from us is that NANS is going to be restructured. When they say you are part of NANS, they'll see you as an organized person, as a civilized person, and somebody you can actually interact with. That is the first part of it. Then secondly, it is also my aim that before I leave this office, I will have to rearrange the system of political engagement in NANS. There are some certain things that happens during the political period we are in, where students are more, because of the the economic weight they actually carry at the moment. Much people go into receiving financial enticement from politicians instead of actually sitting at the table of concord and bringing real value. Okay, when you sit with a politician who you know that yes, he can give value to the students, some just say, okay, give us let's say give us so amount, let's do this and do that, and that is no, you don't do things like that. You bring the interest of the students, bring these people closer to governance. Let them see if this person is there, there will be value. Because when you leave this process and they see that he left here to this place, and when he was here, he was actually able to stabilize the process of engagement within the tertiary institutions, it will give value that when you stand to present yourself, you don't just ask for finances, you ask for something better than finances. The financial part will come. Definitely. No politician will live without money. Understand? But when they see you're myopic, you just don't need money. No. They don't appreciate that. And that's what we have to change during my leadership, because in our engagements, we don't call for finances, we call for value. When you give us value, Actually, you have to appreciate the Nigerian students because we know they struggle.
You give the value, you still give the resources.
Yes, but we have to first of all, present the value because it's the most important thing. If you can actually give, let's say, 100 scholarships to the Nigerian students, maybe across the tertiary institutions, you said you pick in 20% to give scholarships, and we push it through a very verifiable and meritorious process, and you give the scholarship. You have actually given value.
Yeah.
You have 20% from each institution, so read it and being comfortable on your account. That is value to me. Okay, that's value to me. There is no greater money than value. The person will know that at a certain point this was brought by NANS. That is the value system we need to change. In Anambra, is really dynamic. When I mean dynamic, I mean financially. We are not constrained financially. In Anambra State, we are not constrained financially. In as much as we understand that the process is a little bit different, but we have personnel who have the finances more than enough to even spare to give to people. And when you present a good proposal, especially when you have the integrity of structure, that's why I'm trying to make sure that NANS is no longer seen as gullible people, touts and what have you. When they present themselves as NANS, they present value. When they see you, they say, yeah, these are good people. These are people who actually have the interest of the students at heart. So when you present yourself for an activity, for a program, they will listen to you. They will support the activity and the event. And you will see, the Nigerian students will now be more eager to understand and to actually engage in such activities. And this will actually give a meaning to leadership in the state.
It's been quite an interesting one with the number one student in Anambra State. I would like to also add Giant Comrade ArinzeChukwu, CC, I.C.C. Like we know him in student struggle. He's been talking to us about the education, student leadership, the trails, the pains, and it's quite an explosive discussion we've had. And I hope that we are going to get him back on some other episodes to deal on so many other things, because he's a guy who is well endowed. His strength of intellect is what anyone should crave for. Comrade I.C.C, thank you for being on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's nice to have you.
Let's keep it locked as we come your way next week.